Welcome into the Altitude Problems Podcast. This is episode 10. My partner PV. Let's get straight into it. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. Feels good to hit number 10.
September 10, dude. Just feels like it was yesterday when we were doing day one.
I mean, it's been 10 weeks already. Kind of crazy to think about. Technically 11 since we took one
Yeah,
off, but yeah.
yeah. Honestly, I'm excited. Excited for what's ahead too. We're kind of like in that lull of sports, but at the same time, we're getting through it. MLB's in full effect. We got World Cup, and soon enough, we're gonna have NFL to talk about every single week, and those are gonna be good episodes too. So I'm
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely.
Give me a recap on some F1 though.
Yeah, so we saw Charles Leclerc get his first win in a while, gives Ferrari their second win of the year, makes that constructors championship just a little bit closer. Mercedes inching a little bit down after Kimi Antonelli faces a couple of unfortunate circumstances throughout the race. Started with him getting kind of a unlucky break on his wing, slowed him down a lot, dropped him a few places, and then eventually, because of that wing, he was cutting corners. They gave him a 5-second penalty, drops out of points, doesn't end up getting anything. So now we see George Russell, who ended up taking second, and Hamilton, both of them, who took third, both of them climbing very much closer to him in the Drivers' Championship. Russell ended up taking second, and it was kind of a weird one because Hamilton was second place with the safety car coming out, but the Ferrari team decided to have Hamilton pit and change his tires, and because of that, he ended up dropping to third, and the safety car stayed out, so they didn't even get a chance to try to catch Russell. He just got gifted second place. And then, kind of another unfortunate circumstance in that race, Max Verstappen did end up crashing out. He was third place. He had podium secured at the time, and then that was what caused the safety car. He had been complaining about the car during qualifying, asked for it to be fixed. Team didn't fix it. Started out on the grid, and he ended up crashing while in third. Didn't get any points for the race. So really unfortunate for Max Verstappen fans. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and move on to the World Cup game. How do you feel about USA getting knocked out in that round of 16?
Obviously disappointed. I think every guy that kind of like got into like World Cup and USA soccer over the past few weeks, really believed that this team could like make a run. Boy, were we wrong. My God. That was one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen out of a World Cup team in the round of 16. Not only did they look like themselves at all, after like the group stage in that round of 32, but like they looked like they were like the team from like 10 years ago. That was just shit. So unfortunate. In the end, were they going to win it? No, probably not. But it would have been cool to see like not round of 8, but like a quarterfinal game. But Belgium, experience and depth proved to be a big factor in that game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I always knew that USA wasn't really going to make it too far. There were a lot of people getting a little too hype in that, in their whole run and everything. But obviously,
Put
it
a
was
hand
still
up
really
there.
disappointing. It was still really disappointing to see the Belgium game and how that played out. We finally get some tough competition. We think we can maybe at least keep it close, but it was kind of just a mess of a game. We only had, I think, maybe 3 total shots offensively, and that's due to, like you said, poor performance defensively. We never really had control of the ball regardless, and we ended up getting whooped. Another sad thing to note is Mexico also got knocked out in the round of 16. I'm a big fan of Mexico, and so obviously it was really tough to watch. Really sad to see. We did put up a good fight, though. It was a lot closer of a game for sure, a lot more fun to watch, but not enough, unfortunately. So another sad one there. And then Ronaldo and Neymar, we also saw them have their last World Cup games. Neymar officially announced he retired from the World Cup, and we knew this would be Ronaldo's last. So we did get to see Neymar score one in his last one. Really sad to see Ronaldo go out. How do you feel about those two legends leaving?
I mean, Neymar's a legend of the game. I'm more of a Ronaldo fan than most. That dude's just insane. So kind of to see him go out with like what felt like a little fight out of Portugal was kind of sad to see. Brazil, I gotta hand it to freaking Norway, man. They're just knocking on the door and they're just kicking you in the face. I mean, I wouldn't say like Brazil, played horrible, but they also just didn't seize their opportunities. It felt like during that game. So sad to see, but we got a new generation for a reason. Sad to see like our generation of guys that we watched when we grew up or saw clips of, because let's be honest, I never watched them. It's kind of sad. I mean, Neymar, it feels like he cries in every fucking matches that he loses. So I don't really mind seeing him come off. I mean, he's 34 and he's giving it up already. I know he's got a lot of injuries, kind of like the OBJ for soccer, I'd say. But
More like the Kyrie one. I
Ronaldo,
like that one more.
Kyrie is a good one too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ronaldo, I mean, he's a stud. Just couldn't get the very biggest title. He got the Euros though.
Yeah, Ronaldo, it's not like you can say he didn't have an illustrious career. He still had a
Oh,
great career.
it's the only
Neymar,
thing he
very
didn't get.
similar to
Yeah.
Kyrie. He wanted to go about his own path, do his own thing, didn't really succeed as much as, many were hoping that they either of them would, and that's why I feel like the Kyrie's a really good comparison. But, either way, you never really are happy to see a legend go, so we'll definitely miss them both.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, Argentina seem to be looking a little fishy in this World Cup. Nothing to take from them. They're a great team. Leo Messi is obviously Messi. He is a phenomenal player, but there's been a lot of fishy things and a lot of things to look into regarding penalties. Even the bracket being set up for them the way it is kind of insane when you think about it. They just keep getting lucky, and they were finally going to maybe face Colombia this next time around, and then Colombia ends up getting knocked off by Switzerland. We'll see what Switzerland can do against Argentina, but you hope to see a good matchup. You just hope to see a lot more of a fair penalty kind of a calling on against Argentina's side, because it does
Oh
feel like
yeah,
it has been a
Egypt
relatively
was
one-sided.
literally on the doorstep. They were walking into the home. They were ready to, go have a seat on the couch. They kind of get really fucked by the refs. Mo Salah's pissed, man. I mean, Argentina feels like they've been on the edge for the past 2 games too. So like, if Switzerland gives them a good enough fight, you could see them beating them, obviously. But if they do that against a France or a England or even maybe Spain, I easily think they could lose.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
who are you kind of rooting for the rest, though?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of like the rest of the world, I'm going for Norway. I'm big on Holland. He's a cool guy. He's fun to watch. And I like my dad mentioned. I'd rather see a team win that hasn't, constantly won titles. So it would be really cool to see a new nation go up there and hoist the trophy.
Yeah. As someone that has a future for Holland to win the Golden Boot, I would love to see him get to the final, and compete for that.
Yeah.
Um, as someone that has an Argentina future to win it all, wouldn't mind them going, but I am fully going for Norway as a part Norwegian. It's the only team I have stake left in besides maybe England, but everyone's English at this point. So, I'd rather like stake it out for the country that have like maybe like 6% lineage. So I'm excited. I'm excited
Yeah, I
for that.
think Norway's more fun anyway. England's had their time. They have their stars. I think it would be a lot cooler to see a team like Norway win.
And if they beat France, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that game's gonna be huge. Holland's a stud. Fucking Mbappe. Let's
I think
see what we can
France
do, Norway.
plays tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be. I'll be at work, but not really. Us. Um, but
Yeah, France and
anyways,
Morocco tomorrow.
I don't know if you've been like keeping up with the Rockies, but Hunter Gooden was named to his second straight All Star appearance. And it doesn't feel like this year, for like the first time in like a couple years, it doesn't feel like this is like the shoe in Rockies player that they get just because they need a player in the All Star game, because every team gets one. Hunter Goodman deserved to be there this year, like no doubt in my mind. He has 27 homers. He leads in OPS on the road for out of any NL player, which is just nuts because that's usually exact opposite when you play at Coors. And he should be in the home run derby, but the MLB doesn't like him. So I'm hoping he gets in there. I'm hoping the MLB maybe takes the hint, but it's not like a handout at the same time, and he can get in there and he can straight up mash because he's just got effortless power. So I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been tearing the face off the ball. I think, Rockies fans and MLB fans alike think it's kind of crazy that he hasn't been invited to the home run derby, given that he's one of the home run leaders this year. But, hopefully he gets that invite eventually. But overall, the Rockies have been tearing it up. I mean, we see them making a lot of rallies in particular now, being down early in some games, but the bats get hot and the bats get live, and then you just see us somehow make a comeback. Sometimes we blow the lead with the bullpen, but there have been a couple bright spots like recently. Why don't you tell us about Jordan Romano?
I mean, Romano, he's 2 for 2 in saves as a Rocky. He was basically like the sorority girl that got passed around in the frat house this past year. And he's finally kind of like found a home here ish. I mean, he's only been up for like a week after being down in the AAA, kind of like probably going through some shit. But I mean, you could see him as our closer of the future because he's kind of like built for those big moments, and he was last night. He got the Dodgers' best three hitters to close out the game. But at the same time, I mean, if he plays his cards right, he could Rockies could easily ship him for some parts back. You know what I mean? Because I mean, why not try and flip this guy? He's probably not going to resign if he has a good year for one. And if you can get something out of him for a team that's probably not going to make the playoffs, that's it. Not probably. They're not going to make the playoffs at 17 games under, but they're also playing much better competitive baseball. So I wouldn't mind trading him personally if he has any value. So you sign him at almost no risk. You're paying him literally league minimum. There's no point in like seeing what kind of market he has out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the business and it's hard to hear, but I guess it does make sense. If he has a good year, I don't see why he would sign back with us. So
No, and if he does, great. If we get him for cheap, great. If he can prove that he can pitch at altitude, that'd be awesome. But I see this honestly. If he pitches well, we ship him in less than a month because I think you really could. You can get someone that is pitching well, especially a reliever. Just get rid of him. Because relievers can have great years and then really bad years. You might as well get something out of him. I don't know if you saw this, but we beat the Dodgers last night. We're tied with them right now. That ended a 11-game losing streak at Dodger Stadium. And
yeah,
we were
and
talking about
it was
this.
Jordan Romano close.
Yeah, Jordan Morel closed that one. Yeah, I mean, he went through Otani, Freddie Freeman. I
Johnny
know he struck out
Pages
at the
and Freddie
end.
Freeman. Yeah.
Pajes, Loki didn't deserve an All-Star bid. Just saying. But the fan vote kind of got him in. So he had a great start to the year, but he's been horrible the past 2 months. Anyways, 11-game losing streak at Dodger Stadium is kind of crazy. We almost won on Monday night as well. We came back from down 6-1 to tie it up, take the lead, and ultimately gave it up in the 11th. But at the same time, we were the first team to take the Dodgers into extras all year long.
Really? I did not know that.
They're the only team that hasn't gone to extras, and we took them there. Kind of like honestly, it's like a small win, even though we lost, but it's still great for us. So I'm excited.
That was the same game where Cole Carey got into it with Dalton Rushing, though.
Yeah, fuck Dalton Rushing.
Yeah,
we were talking about this. This dude shakes Otani of all people when he's catching him because he thinks he's just that. Well, and he's always
guy. Wrong.
And those two guys, Dalton Rushing, Cole Carey, they're both some hotheads. Everyone knows that. Neither of those guys were backing down.
No,
that is like pay-per-view. If you put them in a ring, you know what I mean? And I love that we have that type of player on the Rockies too, because I feel like we've been missing that, like that fiery guy he'll charge the mound if you fuck with this team. I fucking love it.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I think it lights a fire under your team. I think it gets them motivated. I think it's something that Nolan Arenado, I think, used to bring back to the team. He was a hothead, and those were the years when we were actually still getting some good hits, getting some good rallies, and it's something that really does ignite your team. It's something that Bryce Harper in his early years would bring to the team. Bryce Harper was a hothead, and that's still is. Just passion. Yeah, he still is a hothead, and it's the passion, and that passion, it gets your teammates motivated.
Yeah, your teammates feed off that like energy that it brings. And what I'm like really excited to see with like Cole, because like you could argue and say he might be the future. He's playing that well right now. I know he's only been up for a month, but that dude is hitting over 300 in his first major league month. He's playing center field great.
The thing that I think is really valuable about Cole Carey is every time he gets on base, he seems to score. I don't know if it's because of his base running ability or the moxie that he brings to the team with just being on base, but whatever it is that he's doing, he's bringing in runs, which is something that we were always getting hits, but we were always struggling to bring in runs. But I see him score practically every game.
Yeah, it's amazing to see. I mean, he led the minors in stolen bases before getting up here too. Like, he's an aggressive guy. I love it. I'd say you can probably say he might be our most valuable asset right now, aside from Hunter maybe, but with the control that he has, you could say it's a prank call if someone called about him, because there's no chance we're giving up a talent like that. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, but the Rockies, as far as like offensive rank like top 5 in almost every single metric. So we figured that out.
Another rook that we're not even talking about that's been absolutely killing it is TJ Rumfield. TJ
Yeah, back
Rumfield
to back
is an absolute hitter. I mean,
rookie
he
player of the month
is.
too.
Yep, back to like you said. Yep, exactly. I mean, it's
Like
just
we got a
we have a
core,
lot of
man.
young studs. We have a lot of talent. There is a bright future for Rockies fans after such a long stretch of dull, no fun, no scoring games.
Yeah, I know we're like 20 games below 500, but like it doesn't feel like that when we go to the park
No,
anymore. It feels like we have a chance every time we step on the field.
yeah, and especially in comparison to last year, our position this year is miles better. And like you said, this month we've been playing very competitive baseball in comparison to the rest of the year. So it just, it's small improvements over time that make a difference.
Yeah. Downside is we are bottom 5 in almost every single pitching metric.
Yeah, per usual.
We are top 5 in hits allowed. But I mean, anyways, like the Rockies, man, they're gonna Rocky. It's kind of like, I mean, we've heard this story before. Offense is good, pitching is bad. So if this like regime can like kind of figure out the pitching or just become manageable, where you're like middle of the road. If you're middle of the road with this type of offense, you'll be a playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple as that. So we'll have to wait and see. Trade deadline's approaching. I think we moved Willie Castro. I mean, he's such a utility piece too. I really don't see why not to trade him either. I believe he has a 2-year deal, but I believe it's a club or a player option. So really, it's a 1-year deal. And also, I feel like someone's going to pay for Willie. He's been hitting well, and he's not going to be on the team in a few years. There's no reason to keep him. Same with Senzatella, longtime Rocky, but at the same time, he's performing way like above where he should be for one, and what anyone expected. So if someone's going to give him something, please get rid of him. We might have to take a little bit of the contract, but oh well. He's on his last year anyway. I think we have some big prospects coming. Charlie Condon and Zach Neem. They're mashing down in AAA, and only time will tell when they're going to come up. It's just who are they going to take off the team to get them up here, right? And I truly could see any 3 of our outfielders getting moved. Jake McCarthy, I really see could get moved because like
he's been playing phenomenal lately.
He's been playing phenomenally. He's never done that once in his career before, and he has a little bit of team control. If someone wants him, let him have him. Troy Johnson, old as shit.
Outfielders. Yeah,
exactly. We have too many like outfielders that also like are not like crazy valuable. So if someone wants them for like a bench bat, or maybe they want Jake McCarthy so he could roam the outfield or run bases, let him. Troy Johnson, great off the
even some better relievers.
Yeah, like I think Zach Mean and Charlie Condon can provide a huge boost to this team in the major leagues if they just give him playing time. That's like the biggest thing. And you're not going to give him that if you don't give away some of these guys. So I don't want to give up Mickey Moniak personally, but if someone offers us something, and I feel like they will because he mashes right-handed pitching, I mean, you can get rid of him, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just the amount of outfielders that we have already for one, and then the prospects that we have are, yeah.
It's not to mention
it just makes the most sense.
Jordan Beck, he got moved down to AAA. He got hurt, and essentially like he just wasn't doing good enough in the majors anyway. He got sent back down because there's like no spot for him in the bigs. We need some spots for these younger guys. I think Tyler Freeman would be a perfect candidate to move to. Mickey, obviously, going to want something out of him, but he has team control. There's no point in delaying the inevitable anyway. We're going to get rid of some of these guys and bring on the youth anyway. So, I mean, the only guy that you could say is truly like where you need crack in return is probably Hunter Goodman. So yeah. But let's get into the main part of this pod. We're going to talk some fantasy tonight. Each of us have like some, I guess you could call them like must-haves or sleepers. Mine are a little bit more sleepers than must-haves, but I'll let you go through your 3 first if you're okay, or do you want me to go through mine?
Let's hear yours. I haven't heard yours yet.
Oh, he wants to hear me. Okay, so this is big country sleepers. I got 3 of them. I'll kind of like break it down to like why for each, but we'll start off with Harold Fannin. And I believe you know this pretty well as you were a fantasy owner of him last year. This dude was tearing it up at the end of the season. All right, we don't need to shove the Chris Olave jersey there. Right? We don't need to do that. Harold Fannin was a very good tight end down the stretch last year, and coincidentally, that's when Shador took over. I think Shador will be the starter. I think you do as well. But this dude averaged 16 points in his last 5 games of the season. You average that out, he's finishing as tight end 2. behind Trey McBride, obviously. And truthfully, the gap between tight end 1 and tight end 2 was obviously huge last year. It was like a 100-point difference. This would have only been a 20-point difference. And right now he's drafting about 79.4, so like right in the middle of 6 for a 12-man, end of 7 for a 10-man, and then a 10th, almost a 10th round pick for an 8-man. But you could be getting a tight end 2 in the late 6 or late 7. I mean, I think that's great value personally. Obviously, he has to like keep doing it each season, each game, throughout the season. It's hard to do, obviously, but I love his upside, especially considering I believe he's like the 5th or 6th tight end off the board. What do you think?
I am a big fan of Harold Fannin Jr. here. I think for maybe different reasons, though. I actually, as a Colorado fan, this might be kind of controversial, but I actually think it's a lot closer in competitiveness and likelihood whether or not Shedeur ends up starting. I think maybe if he had a bigger year last year and he proved something more, he would have had more say going into this year. But I do think it's still kind of up for grabs. I think you're going to see a lot of competitiveness between those quarterbacks, and who actually ends up getting the starting job is going to kind of be what I feel like would be a last second decision. I think in all likelihood, it probably will be Shedeur. Shedeur has the most experience with the starters, but I do think it's a lot tighter of a race than it seems. However, in regards to Harold Fannin, like you said, he was ridiculous in his production last year. I mean, whether it
At
was
least in his last like
touches, yards
5-6
after
games with
catches.
Shedeur too. That's kind of
Yeah,
what I'm basing
exactly.
it
And that
off
was
of.
with Shedeur. And that's kind
Yeah.
of where I'm a little shaky, but I think still, regardless, Harold Fannin, I think is good enough. And I think what really fueled his production on the back end of the year was more so the team. We started getting a lot more confidence in him. I mean, especially when that team had David Njoku all year anyways. So it's not like he was
And
supposed to
he's
be their
gone. He's
primary
with the
starting tight
Chargers.
end. And now he's gone. Exactly. And so that's why I am still big on Harold Fannin here. Really big production with catches and yard after catch. So I do think that he is a really big sleeper target. I do like that one.
Yeah, I'll leave Chris Olave for last, but we'll talk about Chase Brown really quick. Another guy that just had a really great end of the season. He had a very slow start to the season, and I think that was like largely due to like the Bengals just not like really being competitive in those games. But when they are competitive, and we all expect the Bengals to be competitive, if you don't, you're fucking stupid. No one thought they were going to be that bad last year, right? No one thought Joe Burrow was going to get hurt either. So we planned for them to be back and ready to go. But this dude averaged 22 points a game over his last 6 games. Average that out, that's RB1. RB1. And for a guy that's going, we'll just say it's for 10 men, he's going in the middle of the 4th round, potential RB1.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
Production.
his value that's underrated is his value as a blocker. Gives him the ability to catch those passes as just slipping out of the backfield, and that's where a lot of his points came from. The Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they do like to draw back a lot. It's not like Chase Brown was constantly getting handoffs, which he did get a good amount of handoffs regardless. But it's the fact that they do have a lot of passing options with him slipping out of the backfield and them just dumping it off to him. And that's where a lot of his production comes from, especially with 2 really big threats at wide receiver down the field. It just opens up things down low. So I agree. Yeah, I think Chase Brown, he shouldn't be falling so low, especially in such a high powered offense as the RB1. It is pretty crazy to see him fall that low in drafts.
Yeah, let me look at see what rank he is going right now for running backs. It can't be very high if it's 34 from what I remember. Let's see. Jesus Christ. It's very low. He right now he looks like around like 13, RB 13.
Yeah.
I think that's insane.
Yeah, that's really high value. I mean, as a starting running back in a high-powered offense, like we've been slamming this whole time. But I think the biggest thing, especially if you're PPR, I guess that would make a big difference. But with him being a good blocking back, he's going to get a lot of catches out of the backfield.
I mean, but even if you say he doesn't get catches, even if he's not PPR, I still think he provides hella value. Just because, like you said, he's getting yards, and he was also scoring a ton at the end of the season. Now, is he going to have the same production, same high production? Maybe not. He's not going to probably be RB1. We all know that. It's probably not going to happen. But at the same time, he has that potential, and he could easily be a top 5 running back in fantasy this year. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously it would take a lot, but it also wouldn't surprise me to see him up there. I think he has the ability. He's a freak athlete. He can truck people. He can run across the field, dash across your face. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that leaves me to your boy, Chris Olave. You saw this firsthand. He kind of, I mean, didn't you have Harold Finn and Chris Olave at the end of last year for fantasy?
I did. Harold Finn was
Partly
one of
why
my
you probably made
pickups.
a little push. But Chris Olave, I didn't really see these stats last year, but I was looking tonight. I was like, God, this guy turned it on late, and it has to be largely due with when Tyler Shuck started getting those stats primarily. Had to be like the comfortability started finally clicking at the end of the season, especially when they're on that playoff push. Right, this dude was averaging almost 20 points a game. You average that out, he is wide receiver one if he does that over 6 games. He had one dud, which was 6 points. His high was 36, but I mean, those kind of like average each other out right there. But I'm not like he could easily be our wide receiver 5, 3, 2. I don't know what he finished at last year. I can't remember, but I mean, the dude's a stud. His problem has literally just been concussions.
That's actually one of the things I think going into this year. I love Chris Olave, and he's going to be my sleeper pick. I'm going to have him going into this year. Also do think I think we're going to see a slight dip in production from him, not to his fault, but more so to the
Mikhail Lamone.
system that, yeah.
No,
I think
Jordan Tyson.
with Jordan Tyson, I was like,
sorry.
But I think it's a number of things. I think Olave last year with Shug being a rookie quarterback, Shug had a lot of just safety net passes off to him. If you look at the amount of targets he had late in the season, it was ridiculous. He was getting target after target after target. As a PPR machine, or as a PPR league, he was just a machine. And so I think a lot of that fueled his production. I think with Jordan Tyson coming in, it's going to be both good and bad for him. I think, like you mentioned here, it does take a lot of pressure off of him. The defense is not going to be paying as much attention, but I also think it's going to open up opportunities for Shug, who, when I mentioned Shug as well, is also becoming more mature and more comfortable in an NFL offense, and he's not going to feel as rushed to make a throw to his star wide receiver as you would in your first year. So I think you're going to see him take his time and make a lot more, good decisions and, the right play rather than kind of force the ball down the field. And another thing is Olave was the big player last year. I think this year you're going to see it move over more to Jordan Tyson. I think Chris Olave, and that's where I think you can still argue that he is still going to get a lot of production for targets, because I think Olave is going to be still the safety valve for short passes and a lot of dump offs, make Shug feel comfortable in the pocket. But then you're going to see Jordan Tyson be the one to go down the field and catch the big passes down there. So I think you're going to see a lot less big plays from Olave than we did last year. But I do think he'll be consistent in his production, and he'll still be on my fantasy team this year. So I hope he does well.
Yeah, and also he's just going to be. He also has Travis Etienne coming over, so he might have like a solid running game this year. With Alvin Kamara last year, it kind of shit. Let's be honest here, it wasn't good. I think the value there only, like you said, it only kind of like it can hurt him a little bit, but also I really helps him. You open
So it
that
just
play
kind of depends on
action,
how it goes.
Well, we'll have to obviously wait and see, but I don't see like a crazy dip. I don't think he's going to be our wide receiver one. We can
I could
average
see
everything
him
out
being
in the end
top
of the day,
10.
but he won't. Yes, but top 10 wide receiver for a guy that is drafted outside the top 10 right now for wide receiver, I think is good value. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're going to take him as your keeper pick in our fantasy league, fuck you. But I took JSN in the 4th round last year, so suck my dick. Anyways, but that's kind of my not. I mean, you can't really say these under the radar or sleeper. People know about these, but they're being undervalued. So I like my takes on those. Let me pull up yours. Talk me through them.
Yeah, so these guys are going to be more so must have kind of rather than under the radar players. I think their value is relatively similar to where they should be, but I also think that if you're going to see them anywhere near the value, if you're maybe 2 or 3 spots around there, there's someone that you are going to have to take and they're going to win you the league. And I'll start in the middle here with someone that I already talked about in Omari and Hampton. Marion Hampton was, he had his rookie year last year, and we saw a lot of big spurts out of him. But it also felt like he was in kind of like a offense that it wasn't creative. It just would hand him the ball, and then if he got some room, he was making a big play out of it. And that's where I think the big difference is going to come in this year. You have Mike McDaniel coming in as the offensive coordinator. McDaniels. Is it McDaniels?
McDaniels, yeah.
McDaniels, yeah.
Swaggy Mike, bro.
Yeah, you have him coming in as the offensive coordinator. I think as head coach, he was lacking the toughness that it requires to get the team motivated, get the team out of a rut. But as an offensive coordinator, he's brilliant. He's got great schematics. He has a lot of history with a lot of great playmakers in his past. And And so I think he's gonna scheme up some beautiful plays for Omari, and he did so with Devon Achan in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Omari and Hampton be one of the league winners this year. I do see him, in my mind, being a top 3 running back, which obviously not a lot of people project him to be up there, but I think, like you mentioned, like it mentions there, the receiving upside, the speed that he has, the scheming that they're going to have around him, and Justin Herbert is still a great quarterback, so they're still going to be afraid of the air game. You still have Lad McConkey and Quentin Johnston, who took a huge step up last year. I think they're only going to be better this year. So I think that all these aspects do come. I think that Omarion Hampton is going to have a great sophomore year. I think this is going to be his year. And so
Yeah,
I'll
and
move on. Go ahead.
yeah, I can't add anything. My bad, bro. I think kind of something that we're kind of like, you're talking up the Chargers a lot. It feels like, we're kind of, sucking the Chargers' dick a little bit. Matt will love that. But, for any like dynasty guys, Trey Harris, drafted out of Ole Miss, not this past draft, but the one before. I think he could be a stud in Mike McDaniel's offense. Really do. He was a little hurt his first year, but like second year in the system with Herbert, I don't think Quentin Johnston is the guy. I never really have. I don't think anyone really has.
I think he took a big step up last year, honestly.
Well, he did the first half of the season, and then he fell off a cliff, Like, there were some games where you're just like, where's Quentin Johnston been the whole entire time? He has like one target, maybe. I think he kind of, personally, I think he lacks like the talent, from a route running standpoint. I think he's just a runner, personally.
That's where I'm going to disagree.
I think Trey Harris could be a stud, dude. I really do.
I think that Quentin Johnston's problem last year was the Chargers offense was so simple that it just got figured out after a while. And then they never schemed anything new up for Quentin Johnston. They never moved around the receivers to try to trick offenses. You didn't see a lot of really tricky motions like what the Chiefs used to run a lot of the time. That's how you get players open. You make them think you're targeting one guy and throw to another. But at some point it just felt like you knew what the Chargers were doing. And that's why I think that the Chargers are going to be very different this year, because that's just not the type of offense that Mike McDaniel runs.
Maybe people figured out Quentin Johnston, because we still saw Lad getting open. We still saw Keenan Allen.
Well, we started to see Lad get open. Lad had a bad start to the year, and then
yes, but I'm assuming he adapted a little bit. The offense adapted. Well, Quentin didn't adapt. He just stayed constant, and people figured it out. And I fuck Quentin, man. You could ride him.
I think that's an offensive. I think that's more of an offensive coordinator problem. If you're not figuring out ways to get your wide receiver open, because he's an athlete, he's fast enough. So if they're not getting him open, then they're just not scheming it right.
Doesn't matter if he's open if he can't do this.
Hey, we saw a big improvement. He's still dropping shit, man.
But I mean, I still love Omarion though. I think his upside is insane. You give him, play action, deception too with him, with Herbert. I mean, like what we've been saying, Chargers are gonna have probably a really good year. They're gonna be a real threat in the AFC West.
Yeah. And so I'll go ahead and move on to Carnell Tate here.
Rockies have bases loaded, by the way.
Big one, actually. With Carnell Tate, I feel like one of the biggest things is he's an Ohio State wide receiver. It's very seldom that you see an Ohio State wide receiver not succeed in the NFL. We did just see Marvin Harrison have a tough rookie year, but I think Marvin Harrison's stuck in kind of a shitty situation. He didn't really have a gifted offensive coordinator. He didn't have a super gifted quarterback to be delivering the ball. And, his team overall just wasn't in a great place. So obviously it was a tough rookie year for him. We expect to see a little more out of him. But then you talk about other Ohio State wide receivers. You got JSN, you got Chris Olave, you got just Terry McLaurin. It's an unbelievable plethora of wide receivers that you can pull out of
Brian Hartline knows how to make receivers. Unfortunately, he left Ohio State, and now I believe he's at Tulane, but still.
But regardless, yeah, here's Carnell Tate, a 6'4" monster. I think he's got all the assets that he needs. I think one of the biggest things is Cam Ward didn't really connect with anyone specific last year. I think he was struggling to find that guy that he could always throw to. So I think that's going to be his pairing this year with Carnell Tate. And I think they did bring in a lot of other weapons alongside Carnell to help him out. You still get Calvin Ridley coming back from a broken leg. You have Wan'Dale Robinson was a big signing.
That's going to be huge, machine. Dude.
Yep.
If they all can like somehow stay healthy, Alec Ayon name more. I don't know if I'm not pronouncing. Hey, man, if all those guys can stay consistent, man, Cardinal Tate could have a huge year. I really do think that's as
Exactly,
well,
yeah.
especially with
Yeah, and
Dable as OC as well.
exactly, is that was gonna be my next thing is, the Titans, they went out and got Brian DeBull, who's another, one of those guys who I think was also lacking kinda just the it factor that a coach needs to be able to lead a team, you know? Like, he just wasn't able to get that team under his belt, but regardless, he's still a brilliant coordinator. Same thing I was saying about Mike McDaniels, and so, obviously, now you have Brian DeBull at offensive coordinator rather than the head coaching position, and I think that this is phenomenal opportunity for him, and I think he has all the weapons that he needs. He has a second-year quarterback, a star rookie wide receiver who you took fourth overall in the draft. And so I'm big on Carnell Tate this year, especially with him not necessarily being wide receiver one. I think for a lot of people that's a negative, but in my eyes for fantasy, I see that as a positive because it does take a lot of the pressure off of these wide receivers. And now you're not facing their best cornerback. You're typically facing their number 2 or 3 option. And typically these guys have a step up because of that.
So I'll remember what Malik Neighbors did in his first year with Dable.
Yep,
Just saying,
exactly.
could be another. You could have another type of year like that. Another rookie receiver just going bonkers. So yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
And then the last one is going to be Saquon Barkley. I saw he was falling kind of around 30th in drafts, which I do find kind of a little crazy. I do kind of understand the idea that he's getting older, but I feel like this is often something that hurts a lot of people in fantasy. You think that someone, just because they're a year older, is going to have a significant dip in production, and that just doesn't end up being the case. We've seen that happen with players like Derrick Henry, with players like Christian McCaffrey. They get another year older, or they've had an injury in their past. You're like, oh, they're probably not going to be as good as they were, and then all of a sudden they're the number 1 or number 2 running back. And I think we're going to see a similar thing with Saquon Barkley. I think a big problem with the production last year with the Eagles was they were trying too hard to force feed deep balls to players like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith rather than focus on their short game, their RPA opportunities that they used to excel in. And I think you're going to see them go back to that a lot more this year. And so I think you're going to see Saquon kind of get that really good volume again. He's going to get a lot of handoffs. He's going to get the occasional dump off because he's still a really big guy who has really good blocking ability. I mean, I think he's 6'1", maybe 6'2", with obviously his massive quads. And so it's not easy to get by a guy like that. So I think that he can be a difference maker in a lot of leagues this year, and I don't think that age is going to slow him down.
Yeah. Not to mention the Eagles have one of the best O-lines as well in the NFL. They consistently had it. Saquon is an athletic freak that's going to take over at some point. He just, needs the ball in his hands. And I also think like maybe the Eagles got a little figured out last year after that Super Bowl run. They could have been a little bit too predictable with Jalen Hurts as well. Like you said, they're kind of throwing deep balls a lot, trying to make those guys go and make plays. And when it's just as simple as, giving it to probably the best player on the field, maybe it should be that simple, honestly. So I don't mind that pick at all. I mean, the problem with like Saquon is you just can't reach on him because 30 is kind of a good value, but you're going to have guys probably getting him at like 20, 22, 23. And you could probably say that might be where he is gonna get taken, but shouldn't. But if you can get him like, right at 30, maybe 29, maybe like late fourth at like 37, be an unbelievable take.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like you mentioned, I think the passes downfield, and that was a big part of that was AJ Brown being a diva. I feel like that did throw off the vibe on the offense a lot. They didn't feel like they were all kind of clicking. You didn't really see the chemistry that they had throughout their Super Bowl run. So, I feel like especially with someone that's that negative gone and kind of a new face in the building with Mackay, I think you're going to see kind of a new energy with this team.
Do you think Jalen Hurts kind of like gets back to his old form, or do you think he kind of, I truly don't think Jalen Hurts is that good.
I think
Seriously, they make the offense very easy for him, in my
I
opinion.
think yeah, I think what we're gonna see is they're gonna go back to kind of more of a systematic offense where they throw more short plays, the right play. If you're only gonna gain 3 yards, so be it, rather than try to force the ball down the field, which is what it felt like they were doing last year. And so I think you're gonna see him play better, not because he himself maybe is stepping it up, but I think that they're just probably gonna go back to the system that did work.
Yeah, I can't remember who is the OC there now, because Sirianni's not calling the plays, right?
No, Sirianni doesn't call. No, I think he
Can't,
maybe calls.
he might.
Let's see.
Did we really just blow a bases loaded, nobody out? Yes, we did. Oh, Rockies. But
Sean Mannion,
anyways, oh, he was the Packers QB coach.
Packers QB coach. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like LaFleur's system, get ready for a lot of screens, RPOs that don't work,
Hey, what did I just
and
say? They were gonna, but that's what Jalen Hurts excels at. That's why they brought him in. Screens, RPOs, short passes. If you're gonna get 2 or 3 yards, so be it. Because you have Saquon Barkley, and teams are gonna fear you handing the ball off to him. So one of these short passes will break out occasionally, and then
this is gonna sound bad,
every
but
now and
like,
then you have someone slide behind the
is
defense.
Josh Jacobs really like that much of a drop off from Saquon last year? Probably not, right?
No, no, not really.
I
I
mean, the
think that
Packers and the
there's I
Eagles
think
did
they're
pretty
different
much the exact
players.
same
I
last
think
year.
that Josh
Yeah.
Jacobs and Saquon are different players, but I do think that in production they're very similar. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. We haven't heard anything about our idiot of the week, Josh Jacobs in the past month. It's kind of crazy.
Yep. Just fell off the radar. Nothing's
Or
really
maybe
going on with
maybe
that at
he's
the moment.
innocent. Maybe. I mean, if he's back at practice, it kind of leads me to think that he is. It really does.
No, I don't think that that's how that works. I mean, Rasheed Rice fled a car scene and
Where
was
she
taken on video, and then he was allowed at practice anyways.
Yeah, but the Packers have been known to be not that type of team. Like they'll cut you pretty like what they like Terriano, he got cut. So remember,
Terrion
Terriano,
Arnold was bad
it's a
though.
little different, yes, but Packers have never been the team to say, okay, that's okay, we're going to keep you. Never been that team. So to see him still on the
Maybe
team,
Josh Jacobs is just that good. They don't trust Marshawn
yeah,
Lloyd.
highly doubt that. Truthfully, he has a very cuttable contract. So if we don't want him, we can get rid of him very easily. That's the thing or two about him.
No, I don't see that. I think you lose a big part of the run game. I think Marshawn like could be good, but you have a lot of production in Josh Jacobs, and you need a run game.
No,
in the NFL.
I'm saying if the Packers truly thought he was guilty, he'd be gone already because he has a very cuttable contract.
But he's too
You know what I mean?
good.
He's not that good. He's old.
He
He's a
gave him a lot
30-year-old
of
running
production
back.
this year.
He gave us production in his first year. His second year was utter trash. He was unhealthy. When he played, yes, he could be really
I
good.
was gonna say,
As a
when he
person
played,
that
he was
took him
pretty good.
as we took him for multiple anytime touchdowns. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
like 2 or 3
I'm not
times
expecting
throughout the
him to
season.
put up, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. I'm really not. I'm expecting a backfield with
No.
Marshawn and him to
That's
combine
not the
and be just
value
an
you get
absolute
from Josh
more.
Jacobs. The value you get from Josh Jacobs isn't season-long value, really. Like, you're not expecting him to get that 1,200 yards, but you know he's going to be a back that whenever you hand him the ball in those short situations, he's going to get you that first down, or those first down situations where he might get you a 6-yard run,
Yeah, and I mean that's what he put up in his first year was like 1,200. By the way, that's why I said that. I'm not expecting him to do that. If he puts up 800-900, Marshawn puts up near the same, Packers could be really good. And I
Yeah,
also
I think that's why they need him. I think you can't just rely on Marshawn. I think you need to have both legs. You have the power in Josh Jacobs, the consistent running, and then you have occasionally maybe Marshawn Lloyd breaks off something big. He's younger. He's I think a
faster,
little quicker. Yeah, he's pretty
very
quick. He's pretty
very
quick now.
quicker.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs is slow as shit.
yeah.
He's like Eddie Lacy in his like
That's
very
no.
very
Eddie
very
Lacy
early
was
years.
very
Early years, not
Eddie
his fat
Lacy was
years.
very different.
Rookie of the year, Eddie Lacy. That dude was a stud his rookie year. If people know Eddie Lacy's rookie year, bro, that dude was such a stud. Beat out Keenan Allen for rookie of the year. I remember him doing this like 360 flip into the end zone against the Steelers in the snow.
Then he got fat.
Dude, he got fat as shit. You know those trends of when like POV my Netflix documentary. It's him like sitting down. I saw one that says POV Netflix documentary about being a Packers fan over the last 10 years. And he's just like, please don't start me off with the Seattle game in 14. Please. Just please. I found that hilarious.
Oh man.
But that kind of wraps up for week 10 of the pod today. Listeners, let us know in IG, DM us if you have any sleepers or must-haves. We could talk about it maybe next week. Not that any of you are staying to minute 49 of the pod, but if you are,
We all know
I'd love to hear them. Yeah, we'd love to hear them. But you got anything else to say, Pat? I don't have really a Denver sports fact of the week. If you want to rattle one off, you can.
Not really, but let's hope that we see Norway win. Go Norway.
Go Norway. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.